questions? There we go.
Yes.
Okay, so now I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Dolores, have we met all the meeting noticing requirements?
Yes, we have.
Could you please call the roll?
Yes. Ms. Perone Lambros,
Here.
Ms. Niedergang, Mr. Cohen, Ms. Fraga,
Here?
Ms. Sachs,
Here.
Mr. Newland,
Here.
Mayor Frida.
Next, we'll start with if any of my colleagues have any announcements. And I don't see anyone raising their hand. How about staff? Bernie or anyone else, are there any announcements?
I don't have any.
Okay, thank you. So then first on the agenda for announcements and reports, we have the 2021 audit. Sandy?
Yes,
Okay, and David Gannon, I see.
thank you. Dave Gannon is our auditor, and he will briefly go through some of the highlights of the audit for you. Oh, Dave, take it away.
All
Thank
right,
you.
good evening, everybody. First, I'd just like to mention that, we received excellent cooperation from the municipalities, employees. Our audit, lasts anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks. So certainly the employees of Princeton have to perform a lot more work and getting us the information that we need. We find that, everyone's very prompt and they take the audit very seriously. We have finalized the audit and filed it with the Division of Government Services, which the revised deadline this year was August 31st. Audit opinion was unmodified, which means that Princeton's accounting practices and reporting requirements are within the requirements prescribed by the division. Overall, we found the municipalities' financial records in excellent condition. I'd like to, really highlight Sandy and her staff. They really do an excellent job. We really have very, if any adjustments, very minor adjustments. So we appreciate all their hard work and the diligence that they take in making sure that their financial records are of high quality. Overall, the municipality is in very healthy financial condition. The current fund balance at the end of the year was $16.8 million. That was a decrease from the prior year of 2.1. However, I think it was somewhat expected. In 2021 budget, you did utilize more fund balance than you had in the previous year, 11.1 versus 7.2 from the prior year. But still $16.8 million is a very healthy fund balance for the current fund to have. The Fort Lee Housing Utility had about $1.1 million of fund balance, about $200,000 increase, as well as $4.8 million of other program reserves. The parking utility had a really good year and ended the year at $2.9 million of fund balance from the prior year of 1.6 and contributed about $500,000 to the current fund. Tax collection rate for Princeton continues to be strong, was 99.45% this past year. Over the last several years, it's been over 99%. So the municipality continues to do a great job with tax collection. Gross debt was $114 million. Net debt was $105 million. What that means is that under statute, the municipality is allowed to incur up to 3.5% of the equalized valuation for debt. You're only at 1.2, so it's a very reasonable, manageable debt load. To give you an idea, your remaining borrowing power is over $201 million, which obviously I wouldn't recommend going to that amount, but you're at 105. You could be at 306 under statute. We also had to perform a state single audit. We looked at the Green Acres Trust grants that the municipality received during the year. We've issued an unmodified opinion on compliance with that grant program. And then overall, all throughout the audit, we do test internal controls and different statutes. We found no material weaknesses, no significant deficiencies, and no items that we felt needed to be raised in the audit as instances of non-compliance. With that, if there's any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Any comments or questions from council? Michelle?
No, I just comment that, we have such a wonderful staff led by Sandy and Bernie. And so even though this is probably an unusual situation, we are used to it because we see it year after year. And I just want to thank you so much for all the hard work. It's really good to hear where we are. We know that we're in such good financial stage. I think we're one of 6 municipalities in the state with our rating. And that's thanks to this excellent fiscal management. So thank you. And thank you, Mr. Gannon, for your synopsis for us this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, team.
Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Likewise, thank you
Thanks,
from all of
Sandy.
us. Any other, Sandy, any other comments that you wanted to make?
No, I mean, this is the 6th year that we've gone without a recommendation, and that's pretty good out of the 10 that we've been consolidated. So we're really pleased.
Okay. So then I guess the next step for us to take is to, there's the resolution 22-297. It's a resolution accepting that 2021 audit and group affidavit. Is there a motion? I saw Michelle first and then Leighton second. All in favor?
Hi.
Thank you. Motion passes and it's adopted. Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you.
Next, we have the Pop into Princeton presentation or report from Councilwoman Peron Lambros. Michelle?
I didn't know I was doing. Yeah, this is just simply, and thank you, Jim Purcell, for putting this together. The Merchants Association is doing a campaign called Pop into Princeton. And that's just to encourage shopping, dining, receiving services, and let people know during this construction phase in particular, that there's a reason to come to Princeton, both residents and visitors, and to not be, put off by the construction. So that's their final campaign. Then this campaign material and everything that they're doing is going to be shifted over to the new Special Improvement District, the Princeton Business Partnership, which will continue to run with this. So in talking with them, what they're doing, just to give a little background, is they're doing a social media campaign. They'll be using an app with Google Maps to show destinations of places to go. On that, they're also going to show places to park. And we've been talking, of course, about how to manage the traffic flow and to prevent the circling the block for people trying to find that perfect parking space at their destination, which creates a lot of congestion. So the idea is that we need, in order to better manage the traffic flow in the CBD, especially during construction, but in general as well, is that the municipality needs to put up some directional signs of where parking is available. We have some, but we don't have everything. So, and Jim can speak a little bit more to the details of the locations that have been worked out, but we need to add this signage to keep drivers from creating more traffic congestion and try and encourage parking in the surface lots, in the decks, and mitigate the impacts of this construction phase, which is going to last for several years. So with that said, the idea, and I don't know if can we show the screen and the particular design. Let me see if I can share my screen of what the pop into parking looks like. So the idea is that it would coincide with what the campaign is, to just give a visual consistency. I had it on my desktop and now it's not there. So if you bear with me just a second. If Jim's on the line, or Deanna, if you have it handy.
I'm about to bring it up for you. Just give me a minute.
Thanks, Deanna.
You're welcome.
It's a very big agenda package and I'm looking through it. I thought I had saved it, but it's not there.
And that was the signage.
So it's,
Is
yeah,
it
so,
signage?
yeah, so the question is, I mean, just the presentation is really, do we like this? Do we want to go with this? That coincides, thank you. Or do we want to just go with a strictly generic parking sign look that, so that, that's basically the question. This is, they're going to do, so pop into Princeton is going to be pop into shopping, pop into dining, pop into services. And so, it has the little logo, which is the O, which, as you know from Google Maps, is the location pin. So we thought it was cute, but we wanted to see what council thought. If there were any questions, concerns in terms of doing this. And I don't know if Andrew Siegel or Aubrey Haynes, both from the PMA and PBP, are on. If they have anything to add that I may not have covered. And then, of course, if Jim Purcell or Deanna, if you want to tell us a little bit more about locations. I know Jim has a list in his memo of the locations.
Sure. Thanks, Michelle. So the signs would be placed at various locations around town to direct people to the university, east garage, west garage, north garage, the University Williams Street lot, Spring Street garage, Chambers Street, and Whole Fish garages. So we would be placing them on the major routes into town, like your Washington Road, your Harrison Street, and other major roadways like that. The cost is estimated to be approximately $2,500 to do this installation. And that's, we were just coming to council to get your authorization to use municipal funds to move ahead with the installation of these signs to support the PMA's marketing campaign.
And it doesn't require, because I don't remember seeing a resolution. Is it just giving the go-ahead? We don't require a resolution for this?
Correct. The amount is small, so it does not require a council resolution. Just we would like your support to use the municipal funds for this.
Okay. Any comments, questions from council? Leighton?
I think the artistic work is well done. I think it's comprehensive, easy to read, and I would support us engaging in this endeavor.
Mia?
Maybe I missed it. Who's paying?
Municipality
From municipal funds.
signs.
Okay.
We were doing signs anyway, but the question is if it has a graphic design that the PMA is paid for and created, are we okay with creating these signs that are kind of different?
So they paid for the logo, the development of the logo, and we're going to pay for the construction of the signs.
Exactly, and installation.
Okay.
And is it 2,500? You mentioned the installation. Is that also includes the cost of the signs?
Yes, that would be the cost of the signs, and then municipal staff would install them.
Okay. Seems reasonable to me. It's definitely eye-catching. And as someone who, even though I know downtown very well, and I think I can navigate, it still gets confusing, especially now during the construction. So any way that we can help those who are not as familiar with downtown, I would favor that. Is that the consensus, or did anyone have any other comments? It sounds to me like that's the consensus of those present.
Thank you.
Sounds reasonable.
Okay.
Great.
Right.
Okay.
Thank
I
you.
think anything we can do to move the traffic of the visitors that are coming in town, to help
Yeah.
them find parking, to have them stay longer, to support our downtown business operation is a good idea. The graphic design was paid for by the merchants. And for us to pick up the tab for the installation and the signs, I don't think, I think that's a fair exchange. I don't see it as a robbery at all.
Thank
I
you.
agree. Sounds good.
I appreciate it. It's a difficult time right now for
Yes.
keeping the traffic flowing. So anything we can do to try to mitigate, get people off the streets and into parking garages and change the behavior, right? Of
Yeah.
trying to always find that perfect parking space. So
Great.
thank you.
Thank you, Michelle and Deanna.
Thank you, Deanna. And thanks, a special thanks to Jim Purcell. He
Yes.
mapped it all out. So
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Jim.
Thanks, engineering. Good job.
Okay. Next on the agenda, we have public comments for items not on the agenda. And I see that there are 2 raised hands. Adam, can you let the first attendee in or allow them to speak?
Okay, yes, we have Andrew coming in.
Andrew?
Hi, everyone.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Cool. So this is actually related to what we just discussed, but some ideas of some other things that we can do to help things going. So my name's Andrew Siegel, 4th generation owner of Hamilton Jewelers and resident of the Central Business District. Also, I'm speaking on behalf of Lori Raybon, who's VP of Palmer Square, James Stewart, who's the director of the Princeton University Art Museum, Dorothea von Moltke from Labyrinth Books, and Dean Smith and Joanne Ferrugia from Shazams. Hopefully you will heed our call and the call of other Princeton merchants and other downtown businesses to take action and do some things beyond the signage campaign. So residents and visitors driving through Princeton are confused and frustrated right now due to a difficult to navigate traffic pattern in town. Between Bayard Lane and Van Deventer Avenue, the Central Business District normally has 7 streets to funnel traffic north and south through town. That's Bank Street, Chambers Street, John Street, Palmer Square West, Palmer Square East, Witherspoon Street, and South Tulane Street. I assume you all know that 6 of those 7 streets are currently in a one-way northbound configuration. Due to the decision to make Witherspoon Street one-way, as well as the current realities of a one-way Chambers Street, only one street, that's Palmer Square West, funnels traffic southbound towards Nassau Street at this time. This pattern is creating traffic backups, chaos for drivers as they try to navigate the town, danger for pedestrians as vehicles try to navigate intersections, and challenges for vendors attempting to make deliveries. Further, we have regular anecdotal information from customers that this reality is disincentivizing Princetonians from coming to town as options to negotiate the CBD have diminished. As a result, in-town merchants are struggling, with some seeing precipitous year-over-year sales decreases. The current situation is not tenable and demands your urgent action and attention. Unfortunately, we know that the Witherspoon Street redesign project was undertaken with a few pretenses that proved to be either false or incompletely analyzed. First, the traffic study determining the effects of a one-way Witherspoon did not include Palmer Square streets, missing a key component of how automobile traffic flows in town. Second, the traffic study assumed a 2-way Chambers Street, which is not currently the case. Third, the Witherspoon redesign was considered using pre-pandemic traffic data and does not represent current patterns, including on weekends and future holidays. For years, many downtown merchants have said that we support the initiative to improve the pedestrian experience on Witherspoon Street and the visitor experience writ large. But in doing so, we also urged council to consider solutions that maintained 2-way traffic on Witherspoon and improved the pedestrian experience, doing both. With the opportunity to find that true balance well behind us, it's now well past time for council to institute a study by third-party professionals to see how your decision is impacting traffic and subsequently to make the appropriate adjustments necessary. We are thus requesting that council immediately implement a traffic study to determine solutions to this problem and to avoid further devolving our town into a traffic choke district that shoppers loathe instead of love. Time is of the essence here, as we need solutions to our traffic woes as soon as possible before any of our beloved merchant neighbors close or leave town. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments. Adam, can you let the next person in?
Okay, next we have Adam.
Hello, everyone. My name is Adam Welch. I'm at the Arts Council of Princeton. I was unable to make the last meeting and show my appreciation to council and to the mayor for their support in the Arts Council of Princeton's Romas Broadway project. I want to thank you all very much for helping us along, Jim Purcell and Deanna Stockton as well, with that project. And particularly, I'd like to also give a shout out to the Witherspoon Jackson Historical and Cultural Society, the Witherspoon Jackson Neighborhood Association, the Joint Effort Safe Streets Princeton Project, Leighton Newland, specifically Shirley Satterfield, Lance Lieberman, John Bailey, and a big, huge shout out to Princeton University's library, special collections, Jennifer Garcon. But also to reiterate, really appreciate the support from town council on getting that resolution passed and supporting the project. We really appreciate it. I think it turned out really well. It's been a really exciting project, and thank you all very much for your ongoing support of public art. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't believe, Adam, are there any others? What's that?
No, that looks like everybody.
Thank you, Adam.
No problem.
So next on the agenda, if there's no other public comments, next on the agenda, we have a set of, it looks like 7 ordinances for public hearing, starting with ordinance 2022-24, which is an ordinance by the municipality of Princeton regarding lane use reservations and amending chapter 11 of the code of the township of Princeton, New Jersey, 1968. Is there is there anyone that's going to present on this? Or we just are,
Can we
is
get
this
a
what we just
motion?
open it to the public?
Can we
Oh,
get a
sorry.
motion?
Yes, sorry. Thank you. Like I said, it's been a while. Motion to approve, Michelle, seconded by Mia. And now is when we open it to the public for comments. If any members of the public wish to comment on this ordinance, please raise your hand. And I don't see any, unless I'm mistaken. No, I don't see any. So then we do by roll call.
Yes.
Yes. So,
Miss-
go ahead.
Ms. Peron Lambros,
Yes.
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Ms. Fraga,
Yes.
Ms. Sachs,
Yes.
Mr. Nolan.
Yes.
It looks that was approved. Next, we have ordinance 2022-25, which is an ordinance by the municipality of Princeton loading zones and amending chapter 19 of the code of the borough of Princeton, New Jersey, 1974. Is there a motion to approve? Leighton, seconded by Michelle. Any members of the public who wish to comment on this ordinance? I don't see any.
And
So-
does council have any comments on this?
Oh, thank you, Dolores.
You're welcome. Okay. All right,
Can you please call the roll?
yes. Ms. Peron Lambros,
Yes.
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Ms. Fraga,
Yes.
Ms. Sachs,
Yes.
Mr. Nolan.
Yes.
This ordinance is approved as well. Next, we have ordinance 2022-26, which is an ordinance by the municipality of Princeton regulating speed limits on Pretty Brook Road and amending the code of the township of Princeton, New Jersey, 1968. Is there a motion to approve? Michelle, seconded by Leighton. Any members of the public who wish to comment on this ordinance? I don't see any members of council who wish to comment. None, so Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Yes. Ms. Peron Lambros,
Yes.
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Ms. Fraga,
Yes.
Ms. Sachs,
Yes.
Mr. Nolan.
Yes.
That ordinance passes, it's adopted. Next, we have ordinance 2022-27, ordinance of the municipality of Princeton, County of Mercer, New Jersey, approving application for a long-term tax exemption and authorizing the execution of a financial agreement with Terhune Development Urban Renewal LLC in connection therewith. Is there a motion to approve? Mia, seconded by Michelle. Michelle, did you have something you wanted to add?
Mia, are we gonna do any presentation or?
Do we want to, yeah, I guess, Kevin, do you?
Yeah, Madam President,
everybody
good evening.
ready?
And it may be easiest, there are actually 4 ordinances on this evening, or the next 4 ordinances that are associated with the North Harrison redevelopment area, which is, as we've talked about previously, part of the municipal affordable housing settlement agreement and part of our affordable housing obligations. Tonight is actually the hearing on those 4 ordinances. We've prepared a somewhat comprehensive presentation that kind of sets the foundation for the public hearing portions of those. So to maybe ensure that this presentation becomes part of the record for each of those ordinances, it would be my recommendation that at least they're referenced here, and just for the record that it's ordinance 2022-27. Which you just mentioned. We also have ordinance 2022-28. This is a bond ordinance providing for various capital improvements in and by the municipality of Princeton in the county of Mercer, New Jersey, appropriating $3,500,000 therefore, authorizing the issuance of $3,500,000 bonds or notes of the municipality for financing the cost thereof, directing the special assessment of a part of the cost thereof, and authorizing the execution of 1 or more special assessment agreements in connection therewith. Additionally, we have ordinance 2022-29, an ordinance accepting the dedication of certain lands and public improvements to be constructed on private property, specifically block 7401, lot 20, by a redeveloper, and authorizing the execution of an easement agreement between Princeton and Terhune Development Urban Renewal LLC, the property owner and redeveloper, to facilitate the redevelopment of the property. And lastly, we also have ordinance 2022-30, an ordinance of the municipality of Princeton, county of Mercer, New Jersey, approving application for a long-term tax exemption and authorizing the execution of a financial agreement with Princeton SC Residential Urban Renewal LLC in connection therewith. I think procedurally it would make sense to then, having all of these referenced, actually go through the presentation, and then you can open it up and have a deliberation about each ordinance in turn, but at least this presentation will become part of the record for all of those.
Great, perfect, thank you. Go ahead and take.
Thank you. And for introduction, for those that don't know me, I am Kevin Van Heis. I am Affordable Housing Counsel for the municipality of Princeton, and was tasked with getting Princeton through the Affordable Housing Mount Laurel litigation that started in 2015. And is a process that continues through Princeton's compliance efforts. As indicated by the lengthy introduction, we're here actually for the public hearing on 4 ordinances associated with that. And with me this evening, we have Sherry Tracy of Phoenix Advisors, Princeton's financial consultants, Frank Regan, who is both a planner and an attorney who serves as redevelopment counsel, and Kevin McManaman of McManaman Scotland, who serves as bond and redevelopment counsel. If it's okay, I will share my screen. We have a brief PowerPoint presentation that we can walk everyone through.
Nice.
And I think it's, yeah. Okay. As we've indicated, we have the North Harrison redevelopment area. The 2 projects that we're here specifically to discuss this evening are known as the Alice Princeton. which is a development being built by Terhune Development Urban Renewal LLC, which is an affiliate of Wind Development Company. And this project is located at the corner of North Harrison Street and Terhune Road. And immediately south of that, we have the Avalon Bay Princeton Shopping Center project being constructed by Princeton SC Residential Urban Renewal LLC, which is an affiliate of Avalon Bay Communities. And that project is located at the southern end of Princeton Shopping Center, where the existing Walgreens is. And as the public is well aware, that redevelopment is actually ongoing now with the soon, hopefully, anticipated relocation of Walgreens, which will set the stage for the Avalon Bay project to begin. This is just a graphic depiction of the area that we're talking about. And the wind project, or the Alice Princeton, is located at the northern end in orange, and Avalon Bay is at the southern end of the center in blue. As I've referenced before and at our last meeting, both of these projects are set forth in our 2019 settlement agreement with Fair Share Housing Center. That settlement was approved at the February 2020 fairness hearing and approved by Judge Jacobson. On the approval of that, Council was required and tasked with undertaking several compliance requirements, which included the adoption of the required ordinances to facilitate both of these projects, which did occur in July of that year. And then in order to provide more flexibility in negotiating for benefits to the neighborhood, the community, Princeton availed itself of some specific and specialized tools for development under the local redevelopment housing law. As we've talked about in several presentations previously, the redevelopment process is actually a very complicated but coordinated ballet, so to speak, between both the governing body and the planning board. It is a very public process that involves the designation of a certain study area and the tasking of a study by the planning board, public hearings on that, a designation, all of which is done publicly, the creation of a redevelopment plan. The developers would then, pursuant to that redevelopment plan, proceed to the planning board for a normal site plan or subdivision plan application and seeking the approvals. And then ultimately be able to proceed. We are actually towards the back end of the process, and we're in the preparation and entry of redevelopment agreements, which two of which we were already approved at last meeting for redeveloper agreements, which for the redevelopment agreements for both projects, and those were done by resolutions 22-280 and 22-281 at the August 8th meeting. At that meeting, last meeting, we introduced the 4 ordinances that I referenced earlier, and tonight we're here actually to discuss all of those. The first one was a very long-winded verbiage. Essentially, it is authorizing a financial agreement for the Alice project. Ordinance 22-28 is a bond ordinance associated with the public betterments in the northern Harrison redevelopment area. Ordinance 22-29 is an ordinance to accept the easement for public improvements that form kind of the community betterments and the community enhancements that are on the wind lands. And the last ordinance this evening is authorizing the financial agreement for the Avalon Bay project. 2 of the ordinance in particular have to deal with financial agreements that are permitted in a redevelopment area under the long-term tax exemption statute. This is actually a statute that was created to help municipalities essentially efficiently and responsibly improve their rateable base, and specifically to encourage and facilitate the redevelopment of properties that meet the standard for qualification and designation as an area in need of redevelopment. Summarily, the way that they work, instead of paying traditional or conventional property taxes on the improvements created by the project, the redeveloper will make an annual service charge known as a payment in lieu of taxes or pilots. Pilots are essentially based on a percentage of the annual rental income generated from the project. And as the rental income increases, the payments made to the municipality also increase. And that's one of the reasons that the toolkit through the redevelopment law are provided. They specifically enable pilots to be used to incentivize a redeveloper to undertake and complete specific projects, and are used specifically in conjunction with areas designated as need of redevelopment. As part of that, the developer also must evidence that but for the tax abatement, the project would not proceed as designed. And that's because for several reasons, the project may not be economically feasible. There are inadequate rates of return that would be associated with that because of risk factors, or in the case of affordable housing, the statutes actually preclude extras, what they call essentially
Cost generative.
generative features, yeah, that essentially would increase project costs, but could be actually to the detriment of not only the residents, but the community at large. So pilots are a way to help facilitate those types of developments. One of the common questions that occurs is when a project is under a pilot agreement, traditionally they will last up to 30 years. What happens? And throughout that, what happens is it will be on a pilot for the length and term of that. And then at the conclusion, it will actually go to traditional taxation. Starting in year 16, though, there are actually mandated step-ups in the statute that require that they actually essentially kind of integrate themselves and kind of become closer to taxation. And there will actually be comparisons on that through the course of time. Another question that comes up quite frequently: are pilots a windfall for a developer? There's a misperception, for instance, that the savings that they get really just line the pocket, so to speak. And the actuality of that is it is not true. Pilots are based upon a percentage of the revenue. And therefore, the risk that the developer undertakes is also the benefit becomes shared with the municipality. The more successful the project, the more revenue that the municipality receives. The statute also has prohibitions on excess profits. They are actually required for monitoring, and there are audited financial statements that are submitted annually that will be reviewed and evaluated to ensure that the profits are not above and beyond what are permitted. Another aspect of the pilots is that they are not really a windfall because, as we just alluded to, especially in the areas of affordable housing developments, the redeveloper is actually able to reinvest those savings back into the project. And so therefore, it is not the windfall that the common perception would have you believe. And specifically, how are pilots financially beneficial to Princeton? And under the pilot structure, with pilots, 95% of the payments made to the municipality actually stay with the municipality. 5% is required to be remitted to the county, and otherwise they will stay local here in Princeton. Another big question that often comes up with pilots, and specifically myths about the pilots, are the impact on schools. And specifically, is the school district negatively impacted by a pilot revenue structure? And the answer to that summarily is no. And that is because each year the school district adopts its budget and will receive 100% of its budget. Obviously, and you'll see here that there are some references to the 2% cap that the municipality is also under, but essentially they set the budget independent of the municipality, independent of what the municipality actually collects. So changes in tax receipts. Pilot payments do not positively or negatively impact the Board of Education's budget because they are guaranteed to receive the necessary revenue associated with their budget. The other question that we received that is not as much related to the pilots, but with developments that are in a redevelopment area, are how many school children will be added, and then is there an impact on that if you are adding school children but not receiving pilot revenue? And the actual answer to that is, as indicated, they will set their budget and they will receive 100% of the financing for that. And the school children themselves, we can make projections. It is actually subject to numerous factors. There's the cost of the rental units, number of bedrooms that are available, types of amenities that are in there, types of construction that they integrate. And there are several studies that are out there and that will actually make projections. And they have been run here. It is the experience of most of those studies and even local experience factors that show that the number of children that result from multifamily housing is actually dramatically lower than that which comes from the construction of or addition of single family detached dwellings. And here with the two projects that we have, the Alice project, which is 125 total units, is projected to generate approximately 16 public school children. And the Avalon Bay project, which will produce a total of 200 units, is anticipated to produce approximately 28 public school children. Through the course of the entire affordable housing process, because of the fundamental impact that development may have on a municipality through the Mount Laurel obligations, council has been in very close contact with the district in order to share information and allow the district specifically to estimate and plan optimally for the future growth. And the affordable housing settlement numbers and some of those projections for school children were included in the district's long-range strategic planning process. And with the pilot agreement, it actually allows a new and substantial source of revenue, which will directly support not only the municipal budget, but it does help to actually keep taxes down, because that revenue can be used for many things like community capital projects, direct contributions to the school district, and capital budget requirements for them. Because of the way that their capital budgets work, they must actually proceed to a referendum to raise money through bond that directly impacts the taxpayers, and revenue sources such as the pilot agreement can actually help assist the district with that. And support for the schools has always been, at least since my involvement with the affordable housing settlements, a top priority for council as we've been going through and proceeding through the types of development, the locations of the development, and the projects that we're seeing. Discussions are ongoing and will continue with the Board of Education and to collaboratively determine how to best use those pilot funds and to support the growing needs of the district. So with that, we have a little bit of background again, or kind of a re-summary of the projects themselves, and I'll turn it over to Sherry, and she can walk you through the financial analysis.
Okay. Perfect. Can you see the screen with the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, great. Thank you, Kevin. So as Kevin went through the in great detail the background of for these four ordinances that will be before council tonight, and the background for the pilots and the need for the pilots, I'm going to give you some of the details on the individual projects. So the the first project we'll start with is the Alice, which is Wynn's project. And I will say, as we start to go through these, and we mentioned it at last meeting as well, you know, one of the things, both of these, of course, came out of the fair share housing settlement. And, you know, it was really important for the council to, obviously, in meeting the obligation, the court mandated obligation for affordable housing, but also to create, you know, this was an opportunity to really create some really amazing projects. And I think that's, we have two examples of that here. These are not just projects that just meet the obligation, but these are really true integrations of the neighborhood, the community, and all through Princeton. So a lot of the things that we're going to be talking about are really bringing added benefits to the neighborhood and to all of Princeton with these projects. So Kevin outlined sort of where this project would be. So this is the Wynn project, the Alice site. You can see Terhune Road here and North Harrison Street. This gives you an idea. This is the building here, the majority of the building here. And then some of the neighborhood enhancements are over on this side that we're going to be talking about. The ordinance that is on the agenda tonight for the bonds to complete those public enhancements. Just touching on some of those enhancements as we get into the project. This is one of the you know, one of the really neat developments that's going to be coming from those public enhancements, these neighborhood benefits. This is the native plantings garden. So you see this here at the corner of North Harrison and Terhune. And there'll be some areas for seating inside here. You can see the bike paths that we'll talk about as well that are going to be added to really continue that pedestrian and bike traffic through the entire development.
Sherry, I'm sorry for interrupting, but this is mislabeled. It's actually at the corner of Terhune and the New Road.
This is New Road. Yes, yes. Thank you, David. Thank you. The new road that is yet to be built. And this is the same corner, correctly labeled. And this is just another view of that native plantings garden. You can see it a little bit better from the aerial view rather than from the street view. So some of the seating areas I was talking about, and benches, a walkway through, and just really a beautiful plantings garden. This was actually revised slightly after some feedback from the planning board, in which the redeveloper was able to add some more of the landscaping, some more green into this this section of the project, rather than just more of a hardscape paver concept. So they were you know, very willing to do that and provided a nice enhancement. One of the other neighborhood enhancements that, again, will be undertaken with the bond ordinance on the agenda this evening is for a new neighborhood park, the Terhune Grover Neighborhood Park. And you see two pictures here. Park area, enclosed fencing, you see some seating areas, bike racks, a shaded covered area here for seating as well. Again, all public park, public infrastructure that will be built on land that was that will be given from the developer on the developer's land. An easement to the municipality. Up in the corner of the project as well, sort of near Grover Park, is the addition of a neighborhood dog park. So as you see here, an area for large and small dogs, and examples of some of the equipment that may be used within the dog park. This picture just shows some of the examples, and we'll go through in just a moment on some of the additions that Wynn was able to provide to the project. These are projects that they were able to add to their project at the request of Princeton. Again, using the because of using the pilot, using one of the redevelopment tools, was able to add some enhancements that otherwise they would not have been able to add to the project, would not have been financeable under a standard tax structure. So here you see some green roof space. You see some solar panels on the top, roof, outdoor space, bike storage. There'll be both indoor covered bikes and outdoor bike storage. And we'll touch on each of those in just a moment too, each of the points here. Just to give you, Kevin mentioned the Alice complex will have 125 total units. And as you can see, the breakdown here, 26 one bedroom, with 33 being market rate and 3 affordable, 26 with 1 bedroom plus the den. And then you see the breakdown of market rate and affordable for each of those. The only 3 bedrooms at the Wynn site will all be affordable housing sites, housing units. And again, this is with the inclusionary development, 25 of the 125 units are affordable. So we looked at the pictures of these just to highlight some of those enhancements. And again, that you know, we mentioned things that were important to include in the project, but you know, would have been cost prohibitive under a standard tax structure. Wynn will be adding 27 electric vehicle charging stations at the site. They are making a $300,000 contribution to support the Municipal Sustainable Transportation Fund. The building will be green building, has received several green building certifications, including zero energy ready homes, Energy Star, Indoor Air Plus, passive house envelope design. We saw the solar panels on the roof, the green roof spaces in several areas, and an enhanced stormwater mitigation system. Also, the indoor and outdoor bike storage, as we mentioned. The building itself will have just a few of the amenities listed here: a conference room, a business office, business center, a fitness room, fitness center, a community kitchen, a billiards room, a pet wash room, a children's room, a wellness room, and then the furnished roof deck that we also saw a picture of for resident use. The allocation of the land, as I mentioned, 25% of the land, about 1.46 acres, is given as an easement to Princeton from the developer. So this was a really key component of working through the redevelopment agreement and through the project. And it goes back to the point in the beginning of really just kind of connecting these projects in through the neighborhood, providing some additional benefits and community connection other than just the housing units that were required. So on that land is where Princeton will be able to then add the neighborhood enhancements, as we mentioned, the parks and a lot of the bike lanes and the dog park and the neighborhood park and native plantings garden. This project is estimated to create about 131 construction jobs. And very key is a $57 million investment on what was vacant, underutilized property. So a little more detail on the neighborhood enhancements. The ordinance that is on the agenda for consideration tonight for adoption would allow Princeton to then add these additional benefits onto the land given through the easement from the redeveloper. And we saw the pictures of these. I'll just kind of go through them again here. The creation of the Terhune Grover Neighborhood Park, which has the tot lot, as you saw, walking and cycling paths, sitting areas, additional bike racks, pedestrian and bicycle network, which has multi-use paths providing connectivity through the redevelopment site to the shopping center, North Harrison Street, Terhune Road, and Grover Park. So again, really kind of connecting the entire neighborhood together. The native plantings garden, the fully equipped dog park with separately fenced areas for the large and small dogs, cutting edge stormwater mitigation system that exceeds state standards is being incorporated into the project as well. And then importantly, because Princeton will be issuing bonds to finance all of these neighborhood public infrastructure projects, there is a special assessment, there will be a special assessment on the Wynn property to ensure some additional financial protection to Princeton during the term of the bond financing. Essentially making sure that even if the pilot revenues that they would be adequate in order to pay the debt service, or that payment would be made from the redeveloper to make the debt service payments if the project were slowed down or something were to happen to the project after the bonds were issued. So a little bit about the numbers for the pilot. The pilot is a 12% pilot for years 1 through 24. So that's 12% of annual gross revenues. We mentioned before, as the revenues of the project grow, so would the revenues to Princeton, because they would be 12%. So as revenues grow each year, the growth would come in the form of the same 12% every year. In year 25, it jumps to 13%, and then is also subject to the statutory increases that Kevin mentioned. As we get closer to the end of the term of the financing, they just tie up close to statutory to taxes at 80% in year 30, if we're not already there, based on the 13% of pilot revenues of annual gross revenue. It would go to 80% of taxes, and then of course full taxation in year 31. And also a 2% administrative fee is paid. 2% of the pilot amount is paid as an administration fee for managing the pilot. First year estimate is about $566,000, with $550,000 of that going direct to Princeton. As we mentioned, 95% of the pilot comes to Princeton, 5% goes to the county. So that is the 95% plus that 2% administrative fee. So that would be comparison year 1 under traditional tax scenario. Princeton would receive about $161,602. And that's based on the fact that the tax rate, Princeton's current tax rate is about 19% of the total tax rate. 19% comes to the municipality. Debt service for the neighborhood improvements that we went through, the roughly $2.9 million of improvements, is estimated at about $190,000 per year. That is if Princeton chose to finance that over a 30-year term. It would probably be, the debt service could change if it was financed over a shorter period of time, but 190 would be conservatively if this was financed over 30 years. The 30-year pilot would be estimated at about $17.7 million after the debt service is paid. So again, if the debt service was paid over a shorter period of time, not the full 30 years that matches to the pilot, that number would be larger. The 17.7 would be larger. This is about 10.8 million more than Princeton would receive under traditional tax scenario. So you can see the financial benefit of the pilot, the additional revenue stream. And then this is just an example, just a little breakdown to kind of explain those numbers that I went through. Conventional taxation, as we mentioned, would be about $161,602 in year 1. That's the conventional tax rate on a project such as the Alice, with the 19% Princeton portion, the $161,602. Under the pilot agreement, $566,025 for the first year pilot, 95% because 5% is going to the county. So we have the $537, and then add back in that 2% administrative fee. So you can see the $549. And then next we have the Avalon Bay Communities, the Avalon Princeton Shopping Center site. And Kevin showed earlier in the very beginning, sort of where the site would be located in the existing parking lot here. And rendering of what the building is projected to look like. And this building is expected to be 200 total units, 4-story multifamily, just as the Alice. And here we have the breakdown as well, 15 studios, 68 one-bedroom, 99 two-bedroom, and 18 three-bedrooms, with the breakdown for market rate and affordable. Importantly here, while there are 40 total affordable units, Avalon was able to secure 44 total affordable housing credits because 4 of those will be group home units. So that gives the additional 4 credits to the affordable housing for the 40 units. This project does also have a 300 space parking structure. Some key points to the Avalon project. This is also a transformation of an underutilized space. In this case, the parking lot at the Princeton Shopping Center. This is providing an $83.6 million investment for infill residential housing in a prime commercial location, in keeping with smart growth principles. With this project, Avalon is going to be giving a $1.2 million contribution under the financial agreement to Princeton for comprehensive renovation and recreational upgrades at Grover Park. So importantly, Princeton will receive the $1.2 million to be able to make much needed improvements over at Grover Park. Again, tying this project and the Alice project into the community. Avalon is also making a $500,000 contribution to support the Municipal Sustainable Transportation Fund. That's from both the FANA and the shopping center projects. This project also has some green infrastructure additions that exceed state standards. The project will be net zero ready. And as I mentioned on the previous slide, they do have 4 group homes, supportive group homes, that will provide housing for developmentally disabled adults near appropriate job opportunities at the shopping center. This project is also expected to create 265 jobs during construction and then 5 permanent jobs after the project is completed. And then the numbers on this project has a 12% pilot, 12% of annual gross revenue over the 30-year term, subject to the same statutory increases that we spoke about on the Alice project. A 1% pilot administrative fee paid to Princeton. That 1.2 contribution for the renovations to Grover Park. This project with the 200 units, first year pilot is estimated to be about $792,000, with $760,000 of that going directly to Princeton. By comparison, the traditional tax scenario for a project like this on conventional taxation would be about $242,000. The 30-year pilot is estimated to bring in revenue of about $30.9 million over that term, which is about $20.9 million more than Princeton would receive under traditional tax structure. And then we just had the same breakout here to just kind of show you the math of those 2 calculations. We would see the 1.2 and showing the applying essentially 1.2 for the total conventional rate with revenue of $242,000 versus under the pilot where we would have $760,000. Again, showing the total pilot revenue of $792,000, then 95% to Princeton, adding in the administrative fee, and then the total revenue to Princeton. So with that, I will turn it back to Council President for any questions for Council.
Thank you both, Kevin and Sherry, for that very detailed presentation. I know you presented on this in the past, but for me, it was still very informative, and hopefully for the public as well. It was already moved and seconded, and if I understand correctly, Dolores, is this when we open it up to public comment before bringing it back to council?
Yes.
Thank you. So now this is for ordinance 2022-27, which has already been moved and seconded. And any members of the public who wish to speak on this or comment on this ordinance, you can please raise your hand. And Adam, can you, it does look like we have at least one individual wishing to speak. Can you please allow them to unmute?
Yes, bringing over Dale.
Go ahead,
My name
Dale.
is Dale Mead. I'm representing the Princeton Fair Tax Revaluation Group. And we have concerns about the financial arrangements, in particular the pilot programs, and the overall impact of this pilot plan that you just described in great detail. Thank you very much. It's a lot to respond to in 3 minutes. And my first question is the following. Did the fair tax, the fair share housing settlement arrangement court decision require a pilot program or not? Could be yes or no.
Madam President, I can answer that, and the
Please.
answer is no, that it did not.
Okay, good. That was my understanding too. So this is something that was decided upon by the Princeton officials. This afternoon, I did a slightly different analysis of the impact of a tax exemption for 30 years on the various properties. And I took as my starting point the example of Avalon Bay at Witherspoon that was built in 2016 or so. That is a 280 unit complex. And for that, the present assessment is $57 million, very close actually to the construction cost of Alice. And I'm going to use this as my calibration for what the taxes would be for all these other units. Now, I don't have time to respond to this in great detail, but I'll say that for the Alice unit, I would get $610,000 as a total tax bill for the Alice project annually. You said $161,000 was going to be coming back via the program, the pilot program. So I see a big discrepancy there. I can't settle it in the remaining 40 seconds. But similarly, the total when I add this all up is I find that this tax exemption that you are now going to give away to the developers is something that will cost roughly $3 million a year times 30, that's $90 million. And that impact is what I'm concerned about. I'm concerned that over time, this will, in addition, require additional resources in terms of the infrastructure in the town and school children, et cetera. And in which case I will use the Avalon Bay example as the best way of estimating future activities there. And so again, it's almost impossible for me to respond to the details of this, but I have grave concerns about what has been done. And the thing that I want to remind you of.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Mead. Unfortunately, the time is up.
One more statement. You mentioned things, the pilot was doing good things for Princeton. You make a distinction between Princeton and the Princeton taxpayer. The Princeton taxpayer is getting the short end of the stick on this deal. We're going to have to end up paying the deficits that result from underpayment of county taxes and school board taxes. And so it's the Princeton taxpayer that's not going to be happy with this deal when they actually see it in practice. And I realize my time has expired here,
Yes.
but I do have 20 days to file an objection. Our group is seriously looking at this, file an objection in court. And it looks like this is going to be the eventual outcome of this particular activity. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Are there any other members of the public who wish to comment on this ordinance? Mr. Liverman. Adam, can you allow the honored council member Liverman to, former council member?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, thank you so much. First of all, we got to be, we have to be honest, and I want to thank you all for what you do. It is not an easy job, and I appreciate it. And I want to say that I'm in full support of where we are today with this project. I don't see the problems initiating at all. I think that Sherry outlined this perfectly. And I think that we'll be light years ahead if we continue on this course. You know, whenever you speak about anything new in Princeton, it brings out everyone. It brings out the folks that said, I can't believe this is a Princeton that we used to have. It brings out the folks that say, this isn't the Princeton that we want it to be. But in reality, we have to do what's best for the town. So I'm in 100% support. There's no negative issues. I'm not trying to say anything, but support what you guys are doing. That's all I want to say. And Kevin, hi, Kevin.
Thank you, Lance. Are there any other members of the public who wish to speak on this ordinance? Seeing no hands, I will bring it back to council for comments, questions. Leighton? And then Mia.
Hi, I want to thank Sherry, Kevin, and the entire team. Give a shout out to David Cohen, to Michelle Perron-Lambros, and to Mia Sachs as part of the redevelopment team. Let's take a step back for a minute and remember how we, the town of Princeton, got here. We are here because we have been obligated to build affordable housing because of Mount Laurel. And because for many years, we spent a lot of money litigating because we wanted to diminish the amount of affordable housing that the courts had mandated for us to build. I also want to remind people that for many years, rather than build affordable housing here in Princeton, we sent a huge check to the town of Trenton for Trenton to build our affordable housing. So to those people who maybe perhaps did not pay really good attention to why a pilot agreement is beneficial, not only to the municipality, but if you look closely at the win, and I'm going to say the win-win development, and you see rooftop gardens, you see dog runs, you see native tree plantings on a corner that would not be there were it not for a pilot and the ability for the municipality's negotiating team to talk and to maneuver and to negotiate with the developers to come to an agreement that not only helps the site be developed, because without a pilot and without some of these other mechanisms, quite frankly, we wouldn't be looking at a visual of new development. What makes these things possible is negotiation, some give and some take. And I think the people here in Princeton, with our NIMBY approach, should be cognizant of what this is and how magnificent, quite frankly, this whole affordable housing situation is, can, and will be. We have a total of, let's see, 25 and 40, 65 affordable units. And God knows, in a town where last year the average home sold for $1.075 million, we need to have a place where more people can live here. And, you know, this single family housing, and every time we try to do something positive for Princeton, we continue to get pushback from people that just want to deny that the work that's been done has been meaningful, has been well negotiated, and will result in 2 fine developments, 2 new communities, more vibrancy, more energy, a better Princeton. I just want to take my hats off to everyone who participated in this. And maybe it seems like I'm pushing back a little on some of our constituents who constantly want to beat us up for a job well done. And that's probably so. So again, you know, we've got to acknowledge that we are in a position to build more affordable housing because it's mandated by the courts. And under very difficult situations, congratulations again to the team who's done a magnificent, let me say that one more time, magnificent job. Thank you.
Thank you, Leighton. Mia and then Michelle.
Yeah, I just wanted to address my comments to Dale Mead. Dale, I would say that the current council shares your concerns about some of the ways that taxation has been done in Princeton in the past. We are looking at whether or not the revaluation in 2010 significantly captured the revenue from our commercial sector that the town is due. I think the implication of how that was done had an impact to our middle class that is of tremendous concern to the current council. That said, your basic facts about how you're trying to analyze this, and you said that you did some numbers today and added it up, and I would say that, you know, many of us have tremendous respect for your career as a physicist, and I don't think any of the attorneys and financial analysts on the call would ever take it upon themselves to second guess some of your equations in the physics world. We all have training and expertise in specific fields, and the attorneys and financial advisors that Princeton has gathered to advise us on this are some of the best beyond the state. They are renowned, and we have spent 3 years. The calculations that you did today, let me just assure you that you can multiply that by 1,000. And that is the level of due diligence in terms of going over every single number, scenario, possible outcome. And as municipal officials, we volunteer our time. We are interested in volunteering our time to get the best outcomes for the town. There really would be no point in volunteering our time to get bad outcomes for the town. I don't know if that's what you're insinuating, but that is not the objective of anyone who is currently on council. And if you look into how, and I urge you to spend some time because it is very complicated. Which is why we have a very sophisticated team of advisors who have led us through this. But if you look into how tax law works, how the legal framework for the production of affordable housing, especially as it relates to inclusionary housing in New Jersey works, I think you will find that you would support the agreements that are here tonight. I think I certainly would be happy to talk more with you offline, but it would, in theory, have been possible to create developments on those sites, but they would not be those sites. And you live very near, just a block away from this location. And what would have been done without these pilots would have been institutional boxes. That's with right. Nothing extra. No recreational facilities for the neighborhood, no sustainability upgrades, no additional bike and pedestrian paths. And these, and I just want to remind you that these sites also currently do not generate any tax revenue for the town whatsoever. We are also looking into channeling this money for facilities upgrades to the schools, which is not something that they are, if you look at the slide, that they are not able to do without going out to referendum, which, as I'm sure you know, has a tremendous direct impact on the taxpayer. This is a way to assist our schools without putting any additional burdens on the taxpayer. I understand that these agreements are complicated. But I also want to remind you that you spent a year arguing with the town and then finally suing the state over your disagreement over how energy aggregation works in the state. You did not win that. I don't think you would win here because the law is the law, and gravity as it relates to finances is on. There are basic facts about how these agreements work, and what our advisors have laid out here are the facts. But I think any of us, and I in particular, as your neighbor, would be happy to spend time going over the numbers.
Thank you. Thank you, Mia. Michelle?
I think Mia beat me to most of what I was going to say, but I was going to also approach Dale and say, I'm happy to crunch numbers with you. We've crunched these numbers along with the consultants that we have, who are experts in the field in the state, in the country. And I feel really that we've done a great service to the town. Remember, if we built 65 affordable units, we would not have the pilots. We would have to underwrite that. So we're really looking at adding substantial benefits. Both of these agreements are high quality projects. There's substantial investment in sustainability, stormwater management, not to mention the 1.5 acres of public parks, the tot lot, the dog park, all the improvements to accessibility. And some really nice projects that will enhance the housing stock that we have to offer, both for the affordable and market rate units. We can't do, if we do this directly, it has a huge impact on the town. Instead, we're looking at approximately $31 million net benefit to the town over the course of the 30 years. This is, multifamily housing that adds so much vitality and socioeconomic diversity to our town. That's something that we really believe in. And it's really important to have this inclusive town. And not to mention also the vitality it adds and the economic benefit it adds to the whole community, and particularly to the shopping center, which has huge vacancy rates. And this will also enhance the foot traffic. So from a rateable standpoint, to take one area that was undeveloped and another area of an underutilized surface parking lot that wasn't even good for stormwater management, and to turn this into these kinds of projects, we believe has a net benefit, a huge benefit to the town. But Dale, I am happy to talk with you or anyone who'd like to crunch the numbers in more detail. And we're all pretty familiar with it at this point. So anyway, thank you for your comments.
Thank you, Michelle. David, I don't know if you were able to resolve your issues with your audio. If you did, I wanted to give you the opportunity to comment if you wish. And
Thank you, Leticia. My throat's a little froggy and I'm coughing a lot, so I'm going to just defer to all of the other presenters who've done a really good job explaining the benefits of these projects.
thank you, David. Feel better. Mia, is your hand up again, or is that from the previous comment?
Is indeed. I just want to say that one thing in particular that I find so disheartening in Princeton is the regular visits to council of people who, whenever there is a multifamily housing proposal on the table to be voted, there are so many people who show up and express their concerns about children, in particular, congestion and other issues, when in fact, single family housing generates the lion's share of children in Princeton and in many other places. And I think you have to wonder why people choose to voice such opposition against multifamily housing. And I think part of it is discrimination against renters, against people who are perceived to be transient, against people who may not have the nuclear family with the white picket fence. And I think people in Princeton need to really look at themselves and ask, why aren't they showing up? Or why are they only showing up to voice anxiety and concern over multifamily housing? It's very disappointing.
Well said.
Yes. To all of my colleagues, well said. I just want to
May I add something?
Go ahead. Kevin?
Kevin?
I beg your pardon. Yeah, this is Kevin McManaman. Thank you. I wanted to add one thing in support of all of what the council members have said, but in response to Mr. Mead, I think if I understand his point correctly, he's suggesting that the more recent tax assessments of the Avalon Bay project that was constructed 6 years ago should have led to different calculations in the analysis that was conducted today, or now in present time, of the wind project. And I just wanted to offer my thought that even if Mr. Mead is right, I think his conclusion would probably lend further support for a pilot on the wind project, because the higher tax burden that I think he's suggesting should have been accounted for would probably have further stressed the wind project and led to a stronger need for the pilot that's under consideration for tonight.
Thank you, Kevin. And I just wanted to add to the comments that my colleagues made and echo Leighton's comments, and thanking our colleagues and our attorneys and the committee that worked on this. I myself, I'm really looking forward on having this move forward. But for next step is, since it's been, motion has been made and seconded, Dolores, can you please call a roll vote on this ordinance?
Ms. Peron Lambros,
Yes.
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Ms. Fraga,
Yes.
Ms. Sachs,
Yes.
Mr. Newland.
A very enthusiastic yes.
Thank you. And this ordinance is adopted enthusiastically. Next, we have ordinance 2022-28, which is the bond ordinance providing for various capital improvements in and by the municipality of Princeton in the county of Mercer, New Jersey, appropriating $3,500,000, therefore authorizing the issuance of $3,500,000 bond or notes of the municipality for financing the cost thereof, directing the special assessment of a part of the cost thereof, and authorizing the execution of one or more special assessment agreements in connection therewith. Is there a motion to approve? Michelle is seconded by Mia, and we will open it for public comment. Any members of the public who wish to comment on this ordinance, please raise your hand. Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council if you have any additional comments. Seeing none, I should have closed public comment first, but the next, Dolores, if you can please call a roll call vote on this ordinance.
Ms. Peron Lambros,
Yes.
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Ms. Fraga,
Yes.
Ms. Sachs,
Yes.
Mr. Newland.
Yes.
This ordinance is also adopted. Next is ordinance 2022-29 of the municipality of Princeton, accepting the dedication of certain lands and public improvements to be constructed on private property, which is block 7401, lot 20, by a redeveloper, and authorizing the execution of an easement agreement between Princeton and Terhune Development Urban Renewal LLC, the property owner and redeveloper, to facilitate the redevelopment of the property. Is there a motion to approve? Leighton, is there a second? Mia first, and I will open it up to public comment. If any members of the public wish to comment on this ordinance, please raise your hand. Seeing none, I will close public comment and bring it back to council if there's any additional comment on this ordinance. Seeing none, Dolores, can you please call a roll call vote?
Ms. Peron Lambros,
Yes.
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Ms. Fraga,
Yes.
Ms. Sacks,
Yes.
Mr. Nolan.
Yes.
Thank you. That one is adopted as well. Next, the last ordinance for public comment is ordinance 2022-30, which is an ordinance by the municipality of Princeton, County of Mercer, New Jersey, approving application for a long-term tax exemption and authorizing the execution of a financial agreement with Princeton SC Residential Urban Renewal, LLC, in connection therewith. Is there a motion to approve? Mia, seconded by Michelle. And I will open it up to public comment. If any members of the public wish to comment, please raise your hand. Seeing none, I'll close public comment and bring it back to council if there's any comments. And I don't see any. So Dolores, please call the roll.
Ms. Peron Lambros,
Yes.
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Ms. Fraga,
Yes.
Ms. Sacks,
Yes.
Mr. Nolan.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. And that is all of our ordinances that were for public hearing. Again, thank you to my colleagues and the committee and staff and attorneys that have worked on this. And again, I believe we all here look forward to the next step to moving forward on this. Next, we have ordinance. I'm sorry.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you.
Say good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Kevin, Frank, and Sherry, so much for all your work on this. And I think you can take the rest of the night off.
Yes. Thank you.
Send you.
Well,
Thank you.
Kevin Van Heist has to
Thanks,
stay
Gary.
on.
I am Trishka
yes.
for the evening, so.
Sorry. Sorry, Kevin.
Thank you.
Take the short straw tonight.
Thank you for sticking with us, Kevin. Next, we have the ordinance introduction, which is ordinance 2022-31, an ordinance by the municipality of Princeton, increasing Princeton sewer service charges and amending the code of the Borough of Princeton, New Jersey, 1974. The public hearing on this would be September 12, 2022.
Madam President,
Yes,
the public hearing would be September 2nd. That will be a special meeting on September 2nd at 9 a.m. to do the public hearing so tax bills can go out.
yes, thank you, Dolores. I now recall that. Thank you for reminding me. Is there a motion to introduce the ordinance? Michelle, is there a second? Leighton, thank you. And for this, we're just introducing it. Do we need we don't need an explanation?
No.
Thank you. Can you please call the roll on this?
Ms. Peron Lambros,
Yes.
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Ms. Fraga,
Yes.
Ms. Sacks,
Yes.
Mr. Nolan.
Yes.
Thank you. And again, a reminder, the public hearing for this is their special meeting September 2nd.
9 a.m. and it will be virtual.
Thank you. Next, we're on to resolutions. The first one is 2298, resolution of the mayor and council of Princeton authorizing a professional services agreement with Princeton Hydro LLC for a not to exceed cost of $24,100 for environmental consulting services related to the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection's RGGI Natural Climate Solutions Grant. Is there a motion to approve? Mia, seconded by Leighton, and all in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. This resolution is adopted. Next, we have Resolution 22-299, resolution of the mayor and council of Princeton, amending 2022 professional services agreement with law offices of Gerald Mueller, PC, resulting in a final not to exceed cost of $55,000 for legal services to the Princeton Planning Board for calendar year 2022. Is there a motion to approve? Leighton, is there a second? Mia, do you have a comment?
I just have a question. Is this for specific litigation, or is this because we already approved? Oh, hi, Justin. Did you just popped up there? What is this just for the, because we already approved the amount for the year at reorg?
Yes, this is for general planning services. The council approved 30,000 at the reorg, and through our June monthly payments to the planning board attorney for general planning services, where we've already allocated 27,000. So we're almost out of that. Really, as you saw in the memo, it's based on the 33 meetings we had last year of the planning board and the kind of follow through on those. A lot of the things that don't come out of escrow from applicants, like the rezoning for the Hun School or the historic district nomination. And really the SPRAB ordinance has been a thing that we spent a lot of time on with the attorney.
Okay. So I second.
Thank you, Mia. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. David, did you have, are you saying aye?
I was saying aye, but I
Okay.
did also want to make a brief comment, which is that the memo also indicated that this money is going to be reallocated from other line items in the planning budget. It is not an increase to the planning budget for the year. So just to make people feel better about that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, David, for clarifying. So that resolution is adopted. Next is Resolution 22-300, resolution of Mayor and Council of Princeton approving a contract with Bryan Electric in the not to exceed amount of $117,963.20, utilizing the New Jersey State approved co-op number 65 MCES CCPS, bid number ESCNJ 18/19-40, electrical vehicle charging stations for the installation of 4 electrical vehicle charging station ports at the 400 Witherspoon Street municipal parking lot. David, is that you still wishing to comment on this?
I would like to move it, but I would also like to make a brief comment,
Please.
which is,
Oh, and
again,
Michelle is seconding, or yes? Go ahead, David.
yeah, I just want to mention that council actually authorized a budget of $150,000 a couple years ago or a year ago for installation of these chargers. So I'm just pleased that the final number is coming in under that authorization that we did a couple of years ago.
Thank you, David. And Michelle, do you wish to comment as well?
A comment, maybe a question, but in a clarification. So to clarify, just for the public, these are EV charging stations that would be used internally for the municipality to be, converting over as much as possible. But Deanna, maybe you can speak to that, because I know that they're going to be right along Witherspoon Street. And then my second comment was, good job on finding some grant money. It looks like we'll be able to apply. So I don't know, Deanna, if you want to comment on those two things.
Sure. The intention is to make these charging stations also available to the public, so that we can utilize them for municipal fleet, but they will also be available for public usage.
Great. That's wonderful. That's really good news.
Thank
And
thank
I
you,
saw
Deanna.
that they were along with this grant. And then the grant funding, there's some good grants. It looks like we could potentially pay for half of it through grants almost.
Correct. It's reimbursement money, but yes, definitely.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Great
Thank-
work.
Thank you.
You're
The
welcome.
resolution has been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. And I know, David, that now I recognize that's your virtual hand saying aye. The resolution has been adopted. Next is 22-301, resolution of the mayor and council of Princeton authorizing the award of a contract to Deere and Company, Educational Services Commission of New Jersey, contract number ESC and J 18/19-25 for a John Deere 5075E utility tractor with 520M loader in the amount of $50,797.22 and Frontier TR 2058-58-inch PTO driven overseeder in the amount of $12,298.94 for use by the Recreation Department. Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Mia, seconded by Leighton. Any comments or questions on this? Seeing none, all in favor? Say aye. Yes?
Aye.
Thank you. That resolution is also passes. Next is resolution 22-302, which is a resolution of the mayor and council of Princeton authorizing a professional services agreement with M&E Engineers, Inc. in the not to exceed amount of $36,500 to prepare a design report for the replacement of the 400 Witherspoon Street Municipal Building, heating, ventilation, and cooling system. Is there a motion to approve? Michelle moved it, seconded by David. Any comments or questions?
Yeah, I would like to comment that I'm really happy that we're doing this kind of analysis. This is something that to be fiscally responsible, we need to be looking at life cycle costs in addition to looking at life cycle carbon emissions. So thank you to engineering for bringing this. I do want to say the number, I want to make sure that if this same company ends up doing the design for replacement, that we get some credit for this work, because this is the kind of work that a design engineer should be doing whenever they're designing a new system. So just wanted to put that out there, Deanna.
Hear you loud and clear. Thanks, David.
Thanks, David. All in favor? Say aye. Aye. Thank you. That resolution is also adopted. Next is resolution 22-303, resolution of the mayor and council of Princeton authorizing purchase of Americai switches and Wi-Fi access points for Dyntech Services, Inc.
Madam
Yes.
Chair, I think we got to go back to back one to a resolution for mayor and council supporting the adoption of Sustainable Jersey Health Action Plan.
Where did I miss that?
It was the one that is right before the one you're on now.
I think that's
Number 302. Did I miss 302?
Is that in the consent agenda? Was that in the packet? I don't have it in my. Packet.
Okay, I may be looking at the wrong.
I don't see that on
I think
here.
it was down at the end under consent, but I might be mistaken. Let me look.
It's number 3 on the consent agenda.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry.
Thank you, Bernie. So did I finish? I don't know if I
Sorry,
finished
Leticia.
reading it. That's okay. So that was 22-303 resolution of the mayor and council of Princeton authorizing purchase of Americai, and I don't know if I'm messing up the pronunciation, switches and Wi-Fi access points from Dintech Services, Inc. under state contract for 363 Witherspoon Street Fire Station Network Integration in the amount not to exceed $20,561.47. Is there a motion to approve? Michelle, is there a second? Mia seconded. Any questions or comments? Seeing that, Mia?
Do we have anyone from the IT department here? No, that's okay.
Do you need to?
Bernie, do you have?
Yeah, if you need to hear about it. So the fire station is not currently hooked up to our municipal internet. What this would allow is at the fire station to be hooked up to the internet, the IP phone service, the door control system, surveillance cameras, the file servers. None of that is in place now, but this will allow them to be connected to everything we have across the street at 400 Witherspoon.
Got it. Okay, thanks. Bernie.
Thank you, Bernie. So it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That resolution is adopted. Next is resolution 22-304, resolution authorizing the award of a contract to RJP Hot Seat for the purchase of a trailer-mounted hot seat 127 OSS pressure washer with 275-gallon water tank, hoses, and other, how is that pronounced?
Appurtenances.
Thank you, appurtenances, in the not to exceed amount of $24,981. Is there a motion to approve? Leighton, and seconded by David. Any questions or comments except aside from my asking how to pronounce it? No, thank you. All in favor? Please say aye. Resolution is adopted. Next, we have 22-305, resolution of the mayor and council of Princeton authorizing the award of a contract to Gabrielle Kenworth of New Jersey via Sourcewell contract number 060920-KTC for the purchase of two 2023 Kenworth model T480 compactor trucks in the amount of $483,511.76. Is there a motion to approve? David made the motion, seconded by Mia. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. That resolution is approved. Next is resolution 22-306, resolution of the mayor and council of Princeton authorizing the award of contract to Gabrielle Kenworth of New Jersey via the Sourcewell contract number 060920 KTC for the purchase of two 2023 Kenworth model T480 dump trucks with plow and sander in the amount of $449,895.24. Is there a motion to approve? Motion made by Leighton, seconded by Mia. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. That resolution is adopted. Next, we have resolution of the 22-307, resolution of the mayor and council of Princeton authorizing the award of contract to Gabrielle Kenworth of New Jersey via Sourcewell contract number 060920-KTC for the purchase of one 2023 Kenworth model T380 mechanic service truck for the Department of Public Works in the amount of $259,240.15. Is there a motion to approve? David made the motion, seconded by Mia. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, I just, if Deanna could explain what a mechanic service truck is. I'm not familiar with the term.
Sure. So the mechanic service truck, it is a larger vehicle than a Ford F-150 pickup vehicle, and it's outfitted with different equipment. In this case, it includes a crane, a small crane. It has a compressor. They're able to set up like a welding equipment on the truck as well, so that they can do various maintenance activities with vehicles and the different equipment that we have in Public Works.
Thank you, Deanna.
You're welcome.
So it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Say aye.
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 That resolution is adopted. Next, we have 22-308, resolution of the mayor and council of Princeton extending temporary revocable license agreement with Rider University for public parking at Westminster Choir College. So, Michelle, are you moving that? Is there a second? Mia, seconded. Questions or comments?
Yeah, I asked Deanna earlier today, but Deanna, do you just want to tell us a little bit about where we are right now with the permits that we're selling for employees, please?
Sure. So currently, we have about 53 permits that are active for the parking lot, but a majority of those will be expiring at the end of the month. So when that happens, we will only have about 10 permits that are active. We are working on a few different items to increase the usership of that lot and to further advertise it so that we do get more people taking advantage of the very low cost permit program that we have for the Westminster lot.
Thank you. And my understanding was we were doing it on a 3-month rolling basis, right? So they're expiring, but it's not like, they can't, we won't have renewals. I mean, there's.
Correct. They can renew for 3 months period. Yep.
Okay. And what was the cost again for the monthly permit? Was it $30?
$30 a month.
Very inexpensive compared.
Yes.
And I did want to mention too that I do, now that we're going into school season, people coming back from vacations and more more need, especially with all the construction. We really need to do some advertising and outreach, because I don't think we've had a really good mechanism for reaching the community for employee parking there. So, and of course, school parking too for the teachers. So, okay, well, thanks for all your effort on it. Appreciate
Welcome.
it. Thank you.
Thank you, Deanna. So, that has been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So that resolution is adopted. Next, we have resolution 22-309, which is a resolution of the mayor and council of Princeton to execute an open space funding participation agreement with Ridgeview Conservancy to provide for the allocation of $80,000 from the Princeton Municipal Open Space Recreation Floodplain Protection and Farmland and Historic Preservation Trust Fund. Is there, Mia, are you making the motion? And seconded by Michelle.
I want to say something.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm second.
I just want to thank Trish Shanley and Chris Barr, who run the Ridgeview Conservancy, and encourage everybody who's not familiar with their work to familiarize themselves with it, because it's really phenomenal what they're doing with kids and from throughout the community, and helping them to connect them to nature and the history of this town. Particularly on this site, I think there's a long history of indigenous peoples and some very famous African Americans who lived in the area, and it's just fantastic the work that they're doing. So they're not here, but thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mia. Michelle.
Thank you. I had the opportunity recently to do the hike, and I encourage anybody and everybody to do it. It's so beautiful and so eye-opening, and the history is amazing. I didn't know that we were, connected. We were neighbors with Morocco, and they'll tell you all about that, and the rock there that is the same as there is in Morocco, and all kinds of interesting things. And it is amazing what they're doing with kids, and inspirational for the youth. So anything we can do to support, completing the Emerald Necklace. I've learned so much from Trish, and this is what our Open Space Fund is there for. So I'm really excited to be able to help.
Thank you, Michelle. Learned something new today. I want to explore it myself too. Leighton?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I too took the tour with Trish. It is a wonderful opportunity. I would encourage everyone to take the tour. The Emerald Necklace of Princeton out towards Stewart, and it's green, it's open, and it is beautiful. And you really need to take the time to walk out there and see the beauty of Princeton that you probably ride by all the time and don't even notice.
Okay, thank you. So the resolution has been moved and seconded. All in favor? Say aye.
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 Okay, resolution passes. And David, I wasn't sure, did you say, because your audio was a little bit off, did you have a comment on the next final resolution, 22-310?
Yes, I do. I want to offer a minor amendment. There was a little bit of a lapse in transcribing some of the comments that came from members of the Vision Zero Task Force. And so I'm going to read how we would like the final clause, the final therefore be it resolved clause, with a couple of minor additions. And these have already been passed on to Dolores. So if the council is amenable, I hope we can have someone second the amendment.
Okay.
So here's the language. So the final clause currently reads, be it further resolved that Princeton shall continue to develop Vision Zero strategies and a Vision Zero action plan to integrate planning and engineering, education, and enforcement actions for reductions of fatalities. And then here's added language. And serious injuries to zero by 2050. And then going back, and then just saying prioritizing the Federal Highway Administration's proven safety countermeasures and multimodal street design. Okay.
Thank
So
you.
the Federal Highway Administration was the other addition there.
Okay. Thank you, David. So you made a motion with the amendment. Is there a second? Leighton? All in favor? Say aye.
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 Thank you. Resolution has been adopted. Next is the consent agenda. And Michelle, you had mentioned that you wanted to pull an item.
I'd like to pull 22-312 out of the consent agenda and make a motion separately so I can make a comment.
Okay. Do you want, do we do that first, Dolores, or do we move the consent agenda first?
She's removing 312.
Yes.
So yes, so a motion, she moved 312 out of the consent. So we will make a motion for the rest of the consent, and then she can go and discuss.
Thank you, Dolores. So is there a motion to move the consent agenda minus the 22-312? Mia, and seconded by Michelle. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
The consent agenda passes. Michelle, you want to then go ahead and make a comment or make a motion and comment on 22-312? 312, which is a resolution of the mayor and council of Princeton to accept a donation from a Princeton resident for repairs and improvements to Potts Park.
I'd like to move that.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, David. And Michelle, you
Thank you.
wanted to comment on that?
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'd like to thank our resident, Berlin Marquez and his family for this very generous donation. They're new in town, so it's a wonderful way to welcome you to the neighborhood. This donation will enable us to fix and improve the water fountain. I think that's going to take the lion's share of the funding, but also to improve many of the recreational features of the park. The Potts Park is one of our very special pocket parks, we call them in Princeton, around town. They help to build community as a gathering spot for the nearby families, and they give a lot of needed recreational facilities to the youth in our town. So this is just a really special impact that you'll have on a long-lasting basis. Mr. Marquez, we thank you for this gesture, and I hope that this brings you and your family and your neighbors years of enjoyment and the opportunity to build lasting friendships. So welcome, and thank you so much for the investment.
Yes, thank you. Any other comments? So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So that resolution has been adopted as well, and again echo Michelle's comments and thank the Marcus family for their contribution. That is all the end of our agenda. And is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Was that David?
It
Yes.
was.
And seconded by Michelle. All in favor? You guys
Aye.
don't want to go in the night. Yes.
Thank you. Well
Thank-
done.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Leticia. Great job.
Good
Thank
job,
you.
Leticia.
Thank you, Kevin, for sticking with us.
Thank
Have a
you
good
all.
night.
Yep, thanks for having me. Have a great
Yeah.
night.
Have a great night.
Thanks, Dolores, Sandy.